Oh, Commissioner
Hey,
Osby's here too. Hi.
Ernie, I am taking this from a ski lodge. So I will not be on camera most of the meeting since you can see my little ski bunny outfit.
Yep. That's wonderful.
Living the life. Living the life.
Yeah, but dedicated to the city. What can I say? But
I know, right? That's great.
Wi-Fi's a bit dodgy, so hopefully I won't be lost.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
So Chairman, in this one, I am able to start the live stream, so we are live now. I just started it just to make sure.
Okay, so we're ready to go.
We are live if you want to give a few more minutes for people to join in.
Yep.
Hi, Kamal. This is Kendallin. If you could promote me to a co-host, I can start helping to let people in. Thanks.
Kendallin, are we about ready?
Commissioner, I think we can start.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Today's date is February 3rd. And I'm going to do the roll call. As I do the roll call, if you could indicate that you can hear and see me, that would be great. Well, let me start with the announcement of Happy Lunar New Year. This is the year of the tiger. Happy Black History Month. And in 2 weeks, you better not forget this, but it is Valentine's Day this month. So don't forget that. Okay, Commissioner Jekowitz.
Here, and I can see and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cox.
Here, I can see you and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Here, I can see and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Present, I can see and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Osmond.
Here, I can see and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce.
I'm here, I can see and hear you.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. I am Commissioner Wong. We do have a quorum. In 2020, Governor Pritzker signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, determine that an in-person meeting of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee are not practical or prudent. I want to make sure that our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I'm making a determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of this Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its permit review committee is not practical or prudent. Similarly, I'm also making a determination pursuant to Section 7E5 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place for either meeting. Pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks on June 4th, 2020 regarding the chairman's emergency rule-making powers, I issued emergency rules governing the conduct of remote public commission meetings and provisions for remote public participation effective January 19th, 2021. These rules were posted at the Commission's website. In line with these emergency rules, today's regular Commission meeting is a virtual meeting being held simulcast to the general public via live streaming. Commission meetings have been held virtually since May of 2020. Meetings are structured to minimize the chances for technical difficulties. Members of the general public have been encouraged to submit written statements in advance of the meeting, and these have been posted on the Commission's website and are available for viewing during the virtual meeting at www.chicago.gov/CCL. Members of the public desiring to speak at today's meeting were required to register before the meeting, and verbal statements by the public for all agenda items will take place at the beginning of the meeting. Applicants and the representatives, as well as aldermen, were asked to contact staff if they desire to speak, and they'll be able to do so after the staff presentation on a specific project. One member of the general public signed up to speak as of the deadline, and he was provided instructions regarding how to do so. I'd like to call upon him now. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Begin by stating your name and association you represent, if any, for the record. One person signed up to speak about agenda item number 2, the final landmark recommendation for the Ludlow Typograph Company building. And that person is Ward Miller. Mr. Miller, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
We sure can, thank you.
Oh, well, good afternoon, Chairman Wong and members of the Commission. I'm Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. And first of all, we want to also extend New Year's wishes to you. Happy Lunar New Year to each of you. And we are also welcoming and recognizing Black History Month. So wishing everyone all our best from Preservation Chicago. We at Preservation Chicago strongly support the final landmark recommendation for the Chicago landmark designation of the Ludlow Typographic Company located in the Clybourne corridor of Chicago. And the The Ludlow building was designed by noted Chicago architect Alfred Alschuler, and with other additions by other architects. It's a marvelous three and four-story red brick structure with limestone detailing spanning the block of Clybourne Avenue between Magnolia and Lakewood Avenues. The Ludlow building's principal architect, Alfred Alschuler, is known for his many high-quality buildings and projects, with several being designated Chicago landmarks, including the former London Guarantee Building, now the London House Hotel at Michigan and Wacker, the former Florsheim Shoe Company building in the Avondale community, and the KAM Isaiah Israel Temple in the Hyde Park Kenwood community. In addition, the Chicago landmark designation of the Ludlow building recognizes and honors Chicago's role in printing, publishing, and graphic design, which is a history which has almost been completely forgotten by many. It is our hope that this landmark designation and others like it will continue to further promote that history and the profiles and legacies of these buildings, which are often elevated with these landmark designations. The designation also dovetails beautifully into other Chicago landmark districts, like the Printing House Row District, landmarked in 1996, and is almost an extension of that important and well-recognized South Loop Historic District. We at Preservation Chicago applaud Annexation LLC and their partnership, along with Gregg Architects, Alderman Brian Hopkins, and the DPD historic staff, for their commitment to preserve, restore, and repurpose this wonderful example of a historic warehouse building by Alfred Alschuler. We often need to be reminded that in Chicago, that investment in a historic built environment and our landmarks is development, and it's the most sensitive type of development, honoring the legacy of a city known the world over for its architecture, planning, public parks, and lakefront lands. So these structures, when landmarked, become a celebrated asset, honoring the legacy of Chicago and something we can all be proud of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You've also signed up to speak for agenda item number 3, the adopt a landmark application for Glessner House. Please go ahead. By the way, am I echoing?
You are,
No.
Commissioner.
I am. Okay. Put in my headset.
But Sue Ellen also echoed, and I'm echoing.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I have a headset on.
Okay, our audio is kind of wacky.
If anyone
Sound
has,
okay?
if anyone has a telephone on, could they please turn the volume down if they are listening also on their laptop? That should eliminate.
Well, do understand that everyone is echoing, everyone. So it can't be something on our end.
It seems like everybody's echoing.
I'm going to mute the chairman and see if that helps. Okay, are we? Yeah, we are still getting echo.
This is a test. Has the echo gone away?
It has
No, it has
not,
not.
Commissioner. Let me mute you also, Commissioner Cox, maybe.
Could it be Mr. Miller?
Yes, can you hear me? I hear no echo, just so you know.
So it was actually Commissioner Cox. Actually, we're still getting some echo.
Can we mute Mr. Miller? Try that.
Yes, Mr. Miller, I'm going to mute you to.
Sure.
Yes, now we are good.
Now we're good.
Mr. Miller has 2 devices or something.
Where do you have 2 devices going?
Only when Mr. Miller is speaking, he is okay. So we will let him finish his comments and then he'll be muted. So we'll be okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Ward, are you there?
Yes, my apologies, commissioners. I have a very quiet background here, so I don't know why you're hearing the echo. But regarding the Glessner House, I'm Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. And again, thank you for hosting us this afternoon as part of the public comments. We at Preservation Chicago strongly support the approval and the Adopt a Landmark funds for both the roof and exterior repairs to Chicago's famed John J. Glessner House and Museum, located at 1800 South Prairie Avenue, Chicago. The Glessner House is one of 3 projects by noted architect Henry Hobson Richardson, constructed in Chicago, and the last remaining of these buildings. The others, the Marshall Field Wholesale Warehouse and the Franklin McVeigh House, both were unfortunately destroyed. Richardson's architecture and influence on America's built environment is well recognized and documented in many publications around the world. The Glessner House is truly a work of art in every respect, from its exterior walls to its richly appointed interiors and furnishings, most of which are authentic to the Glessner's occupancy of the house from 1887 to 1936. Glessner House is an extraordinary asset to Chicago and its built environment, its landmark buildings, its history and cultural arts, and featured with the museum's programming, it's an amazing resource. The house and museum stand among the very best of the best of Chicago's institutions and house museums. It was from efforts to save this structure from an uncertain future, perhaps demolition, that the Chicago School of Architecture Foundation was established here, now known as the Chicago Architecture Center. With its many tours and educational outreach, the Chicago Architecture Center is credited often with helping to promote Chicago's architectural legacy, with tours extending throughout our city and region, and an amazing resource to our tourism industry in Chicago and celebrating its great architecture. Noting the Glessner House as an exemplary institution in so many respects, we encourage the Commission on Chicago Landmarks to approve the Adopt a Landmark funds for the repairs to this remarkable Chicago landmark building, the Glessner House. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Now I'm still hearing an echo.
It was Mr. Miller. He's muted now.
Excuse me?
It was Mr. Miller. He is muted now.
Okay. All right. I think we're good now. That sounds great. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. That was a regular meeting on January 13th, 2022. They were included in your package. Is there any comments or discussion regarding those meeting minutes? If not, I'd like to request a motion to approve those meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Approved by Commissioner Osmond.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Ponce.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, let's go on to the projects here. Item number 2 is the final landmark recommendation for the Ludlow Typograph Company building in the 2nd Ward. This is located at 2028 to 2062 North Clybourne Avenue. And Dan Clyburn, please tell us what's going on.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Wong. I am here today with a final recommendation for the landmark designation of the Ludlow Typograph Company building. To help orient you again, the Ludlow building is located in Chicago's Lincoln Park community area at 2028 through 2062 North Clybourne Avenue, just north and east of the North Branch of the Chicago River. At the December meeting, the Commission found that the Ludlow building meets 4 criteria for designation, including Criterion 1 for heritage. The Ludlow Typograph Company's contributions to the printing industry include the development of the Ludlow Typograph, a machine used for casting lines of type for setting in printing presses, as well as the creation of dozens of popular typefaces. The company was founded in 1906 in Cleveland and moved to the Clybourne Avenue location in Chicago in 1918. By this time, Ludlow had developed a commercially successful machine that could cast larger font-size lines of type for printing headlines, titles, and other printed headings, such as in advertisements. The Commission also found that the Ludlow building is significant under Criterion 3 for its association with two significant individuals. Douglas McMurtry was a nationally renowned expert on printing and typography. He published over 400 books on printing and typography and designed some of Ludlow's iconic typefaces, including the visually dynamic sans serif typeface Ultra Modern. Robert Middleton was employed at Ludlow from 1933 through 1971. Middleton was an accomplished typographic artist and is credited with designing over 100 typefaces that encompass both artistic alternatives to established designs as well as completely new and modern styles. The Commission also found that the Ludlow building meets criterion 4 for architecture. The Ludlow building is a significant Prairie School influenced commercial style building that has a repeating layout that is distinguished by a high quality design, which made it possible for future expansion, both horizontally and vertically, as Ludlow required additional production space. The incredibly flexible design allowed the building to retain a cohesive visual identity despite continued additions over 3 decades. The Commission also found that the designation meets criterion 5 for architect. Alfred S. Elschuler was one of Chicago's most prominent and prolific early 20th century architects. Elschuler specialized in commercial and industrial architecture, but he designed a wide range of structures throughout his career, including hundreds of public buildings, synagogues, apartment buildings, and utilitarian manufacturing and storage buildings. In addition to the landmark criteria just discussed, the Commission found that the Ludlow building also meets the separate integrity criterion. The Ludlow building retains very good physical integrity on its exterior, displayed through its historic location, overall design, historic materials, and details. The building retains its historic street elevations along Clybourne Avenue and Magnolia Avenue and retains many intact traditional building materials, including brickwork and stone. The Ludlow building is located in the 2nd Ward, and Alderman Brian Hopkins has expressed his support for the proposed designation. In addition, the building's current owner has consented to the proposed landmark designation of the building to help facilitate its planned residential commercial reuse. And John Kramer of the development team is here today. Mr. Morgan was unable to attend today's hearing. In conclusion, Historic Preservation Division staff recommend that the Ludlow building's significant historical and architectural features be identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building. You have a final landmark recommendation to that effect. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. Does the Commission have any questions for Daniel at this time? Seeing none. Mr. Kramer, welcome. Would you like to make any comments?
Yes, hi. John Morgan and Matt Farino from ownership are sorry they can't make it today. They didn't see the conflict. They just wanted me to convey their excitement about the project, about the landmark designation. Also with me today, we've got Zach Morrison from the architects who can answer any questions about potential plans for the project. Also, my colleague Matt McClend from McCrosty, who prepared the landmark designation report, is here if there are any questions about the history of the building or about the actual report itself. But yeah, we're available if you have any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Does the Commission have any questions for Mr. Kramer and or the team? And again,
I have my hand up.
Mr. Cox, go ahead.
Yes, no, thanks for the presentation. And I'm always so impressed at the resiliency of this building typology and its appropriateness for adaptive reuse of program agendas that didn't even exist at the time of its building. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the architectural proposition. And if the architects could just tell us a little bit about what they found in terms of the building's adaptability to the kind of new programs that have been advanced that'd be great.
Sure. We have Zach Morrison. I see him on the line. Oh, and there he is. I think he's unmuted.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fascinating building from an adaptability standpoint in that for all intents and purposes, it's actually 5 buildings that have been systematically tied together. They all offer really unique opportunities, but challenges. They each have their own structural system. It seems like they couldn't kind of keep up their mind as they progressed down the block. But I think most significantly, the fact that they did the original architects planned for this, and subsequent architects who added onto the building followed suit and continued that expression and did a very good job sort of tying the Magnolia and Clybourne elevations together aesthetically, while letting the sort of back of the building operate as its original factory requirements. So there's a lot of nuances on the interior that we're working through, but it's a really robust building, a series of concrete frames and one heavy timber building.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Any further questions or comments?
Yes, Commissioner. This is Commissioner Burns.
Please.
I have a question for the architectural team. So this building is just around the corner from the General Iron facility. And I wonder, as a part of the rehabilitation and based on not necessarily environmental legacy issues related to the ground, but potentially particles in the air and stirring up any of that or anything that has permeated the building over the years, whether there's any concerns, if there's been an environmental review, or anything that might stall or hinder progress with the redevelopment.
Nothing that we're privy to in the, as the building exists.
Thank you.
Or Mr. Kramer, do you want to take that question also?
Sure. I guess I don't know the answer to that question, Commissioner, but I do know that the team is. I guess all I can say is the team will have to look at it. We'll definitely pass along those comments. I suspect this is very much on their radar already, but we will make sure that your concerns are passed along.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? If not, then Alderman Hopkins, I see you're here. Would you like to make any comments?
Hi,
Alderman?
Brian Pellerag for the record. I am Aldermanic Staff Assistant to Alderman Hopkins. Unfortunately, he was not able to attend, but I know he has spoken to you all previously about his great support for this project, and he wishes me to convey that again at this moment. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. Okay, with that, no other further questions. I'd like to call for a motion to adopt the final landmark recommendation for the Ludlow Typograph Company building. Is there a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Hughes.
All right, is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cox.
Commissioner Cox is second. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Jerkowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Osman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, folks. This is a great project, and we wish you the best moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, the third item on the agenda is the Citywide Adopt a Landmark Fund application for the Glessner House located at 1800 South Prairie Avenue in the 3rd Ward. And Daniel, you have this one as well.
Excuse me, Commissioner Wong.
Yes, Commissioner Burns.
I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion, so I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I believe Commissioner Osman, you're also recusing yourself?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that means the rest of the commission needs to be able to vote. Thank you. All right. Daniel, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. You can hear me again?
We sure can.
Great, thanks. At the December 2021 Commission meeting, we informed you of 12 projects that DPD conditionally awarded grants to from the 2021 Adopt a Landmark application funding round. You may recall that each of the projects are required to come back to the Commission for a vote once their scope and budget are fully developed. One of the applicants, the Glessner House Museum, has finalized the budget and scope for their project. The museum is requesting $100,000 in Adopt a Landmark funds for a series of exterior envelope projects totaling approximately $108,000. It should be noted that the museum has also recently completed several other capital projects to improve the building that totals approximately $185,000 in additional work that is outside of the scope of the Adopt a Landmark project presented here today. For orientation, Glessner House is located at 1800 South Prairie Avenue within the near South Side community area and the 3rd Ward. Commissioned in 1885 by John J. Glessner, a prominent Chicago business and cultural leader, Glessner House was designed by architect Henry Hobson Richardson. The building is famous for its innovative floor plan. The house was built on Prairie Avenue when the near South Side was Chicago's most fashionable residential location. The John J. Glessner House was designated as a Chicago landmark in 1970, and along with Clark House is the earliest designated Chicago landmark. Today, the Glessner House Museum hosts a broad range of community events, including educational and social services, in addition to its primary mission as a public museum, which promotes early Chicago architecture, history, and design through an exploration of Glessner House, its family, and its preservation. Overall, the scope of work for the Adopt a Landmark proposal includes various masonry, roof, and gutter projects at multiple locations on the building as depicted on the drawings before you. Collectively, the projects address leaking that threatens the building's interior spaces. The scope of work was developed after assessments were completed in 2020 and 2021, including water infiltration testing by Glessner's team, which includes Wiss Janney Elsner, Berglund Construction, and Jones and Cleary Roofing. For a little more detail, on this image you can see the internal damage that has already occurred in the southeast corner of the Simmerling Gallery space and representative samples of the masonry conditions that will be addressed to combat the leaking. These images are representative of the various gutter, collector box, masonry, and chimney flashing problems that exist that also already are or are potential water infiltration points. And finally, this image shows the copper roof over the 2nd floor hall where leakage was produced during testing. Various punctures and seams will be addressed in this area of the roof. The resolution before you to grant the Adopt a Landmark funds to the applicant includes an Exhibit A, which outlines the scope of work and budget, which includes, as I said, $100,000 in grant funds for the approximately $108,000 project. This resolution and drawings were included in your packets. In addition, Exhibit A includes the main conditions associated with the project. In summary, the conditions are that all work must be submitted to DPD for prior review and approval. The work must be done in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. The applicant will enter into an escrow agreement to assure the project is completed and paid for in a timely manner, and upon completion, the applicant will provide to DPD the necessary documentation of completion of the project so that staff can also give an informational overview of the project to the Commission once completed. Should you vote to approve the project, the department will then enter into a written agreement with the applicant that will incorporate the resolution. The museum anticipates beginning this work later this spring. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. William Tyre of the Glessner House Museum is in attendance with me as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Does the commission have any questions for Daniel at this time? I guess one of the questions I had One of the photographs had shown some deterioration of the limestone coping. I think this was it. Yeah, right there. Is that piece of limestone coping, is that going to be replaced during this, or how is that going to be? Well,
I think I'll defer. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was going to defer that one to Mr. Tyre, actually.
Okay. Well, okay. Mr. Tyre, go ahead and make your comments, and you can address this during that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Chairman Wong. Yes, what you're looking at in the photo, actually all of the stone on the exterior of the building is granite, not limestone. The stone unit itself is not deteriorated. It's the area in between the stones. So the sealant and the other material that's in that area. So there is not a need to replace any stone as such.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Did you want to make any further comments regarding the project and or address the commission?
Yes, I would just like to thank the commission for reviewing this project. These issues, we have been trying to identify these issues for a number of years, and it was not until the West Jenny Elsner team came in during 20 and 21 that we were finally able to establish what was causing these ongoing infiltration issues. So we greatly appreciate that we were able to get this on the February agenda so that we can move forward and be ready to take these repairs under our wing as soon as the weather is favorable in the spring. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Tyre. Does the commission have any questions for Mr. Tyre? If not, I would like to request a motion to approve the resolution for the Citywide Adopt a Landmark Fund grant for the Glessner House. Is there a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Jackiewicz.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Hughes.
Second by Commissioner Hughes. Thank you. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns? Oh, you're
She's recused.
Recused. Commissioner Osmond is recused. Commissioner Ponce?
Yes.
And I am a yes also. The motion passes. Then there were 2 abstains or recusals. And that is it for the projects. Thank you, Mr. Tyre. Good luck with that. And spring can't come soon enough. The Permanent Review Committee reports at the January 13th, 2022 Permanent Review Committee. And Commissioner Jackiewicz, you want to give us a report?
Sure. Thanks, Chairman. The Permanent Review Committee reviewed and conditionally approved 1 project at its January 13, 2022 meeting. The report summarizing the scope of the proposed project and the committee's decisions was included in your packet. This report is for your information and for the record.
Thank you. That must have been a short meeting. Great. And then Joyce, do you have a further report?
Yep, thank you, Commissioner. For the month of January, staff reviewed 144 permit applications. 3 of these applications relate to projects reviewed by the Permit Review Committee. A total of 159 reviews were performed by staff, and the average number of days to issue approval or corrections was 3.2 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for either Commissioner Jackiewicz or Joyce? Having none, the last item on the agenda is the annual report for 2021. This is informational. There's no resolution before the commission for this agenda item. So Deanna, you want to take us through that?
Thank you, Commissioner. The annual report for 2021 was included in your packets, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to provide a brief summary of the work accomplished by the commission and commission staff last year. In 2021, 10 proposed landmark designations were initiated by the commission. 7 of the 10 were approved by the City Council, including the Muddy Waters House, the Miracle House, the Morton Salt Warehouse Complex, and the former Schlitz Tide House at 1393 Westlake. 2 churches were designated, Monastery of the Holy Cross and the Pentecostal Church of Holiness, as well as a group of 4 buildings at Halsted and Willow. The remaining 3 designations that the Commission recommended in 2021 are in process. The Little Village Arch was approved by the City Council last month, and the Seth Warner House and the Ludlow Typograph Company building, which you just voted on, will be transmitted to City Council for a decision in the upcoming months. In addition, the City Council approved 3 landmark designations last year that were initiated by the Commission in 2020. The Commission staff reviewed 1,973 permit applications and performed 2,161 reviews last year. Average number of days to approve the application or issue corrections was 2.8 days. The Permit Review Committee reviewed 51 projects over the course of the year. In addition to reviewing permit applications for landmarks, staff reviewed 783 permit applications for buildings identified in the Chicago Historic Resources Survey as red or orange. 23 of these applications triggered the demolition delay ordinance. Last year, the Commission approved the scope of work and budget for 3 Adopt a Landmark Fund projects, totaling just under $717,000 in grants. DPD also certified as complete the Givens Castle project that received $240,000 in grant. Last year, as already mentioned, DPD and the Commission established a new funding priority for the 2021 Adopt a Landmark Fund application round, neighborhood anchor buildings and neighborhood commercial buildings, to focus on landmark buildings in Chicago's neighborhoods that are centers or aspiring centers of community life, or commercial and mixed-use buildings that reinforce local commerce and pedestrian activity. 12 projects were selected for conditional grants from the applications received, and each of these will come to the Commission for review in the coming months. Also last year, the Commission recommended that 2 building projects received a Class L incentive. Both projects were subsequently approved by the City Council. The Commission also reviewed and issued final certifications for the rehabilitation of 4 properties, including the Cook County Hospital Administration Building, the Essex Inn, the Old Chicago Main Post Office Building, and the Marshall Field and Company Building. Chicago Landmark Awards for Preservation Excellence were held virtually on October 28th. 11 projects were chosen to recognize and acknowledge the critical role property owners, businesses, and citizens play in the preservation of the city's historic and cultural heritage. The full report that provides details of the projects and initiatives I summarized, as well as other accomplishments, will be posted on the department's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. This is actually very impressive and truly, the Commission should be really proud of this, and the staff, the work that you all have done is just amazing. So thank you so much for all the hard work. And the Commission, thank you for your service in making all of this happen. So I really appreciate that.
Chairman Wong.
Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, no, I did want to take this time to reinforce what you said. It's a small but mighty team in the city that shepherds our built and natural environment through the tools of preservation. You know, to Deanna and her team, they do just exceptional work, and I feel very proud to be a part of this commission and to see the work that's done. And a lot of times, you know, you only see it when you get this overview of accomplishments, and to see what has how the Adopt a Landmark has shifted its focus, and through very deliberate acts, they now have projects from across the city with probably the largest collection from the south and west side. I don't think 2 years ago I would have anticipated that happens, but that also means that this body and the makeup of this body has helped to usher that in. And I just hope that we continue to be able to build on that, as well as you begin to see how important the landmark designation tool is. And I know that as I've talked to Deanna and her staff, I feel really strongly that there's more work that we can do to encourage applicants from across the entire city that their buildings are landmark worthy. And obviously, you know, in the end, it allows us to also support them with the Adopt a Landmark. But that too requires us to get out there and let people know that your institution, your house that's associated with an important figure is worthy of landmark designation. So I hope that what we are doing as a commission becomes clearer and more articulate as we look at 2022. But I think the accomplishments are astounding to sit and see without us being, screaming it from the hilltops. The message has gotten out there, and that's largely that I think this body uses this vehicle quite effectively to get the message out, and the staff does a great job. So my compliments to the body and to the staff for an incredibly accomplished year.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. And I probably want to also add, I mean, there are Landmarks Illinois and Preservation Chicago, which also really plays an important part in this. And what I love about this is, as you commented on the south and the west side, the attention that's been given that people like Lee Bay that have really excelled that the exposure of all of these fantastic buildings. I just saw an article a couple of weeks ago by Iker Gill regarding John Matuszami's work throughout the Chatham area, which brought back lots of memories for me. So, these are the kinds of things that I think are important for the city and continues to have this, our heritage continue to be recognized. So thank you.
Commissioner Wong? Yeah, this is Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you guys can see me. It looks like the camera isn't working, even though I have it on now. Oh, okay. Well, hey, I very much want to echo Commissioner Cox's sentiments and yours, Commissioner Wong. It's super exciting, and I'm so proud to see the diversity within geography, within cultural representation, within other aspects of what has been historically underrepresented sites and people and narratives within the built environment and historic preservation. Enormous gratitude to the historic preservation staff and also nonprofit partners who have done so much work. And I think one of the deeply meaningful reflections that I had as I looked at the report, thank you, Deanna and team, for putting together something that helps us, reminds us of the global view of the whole year, that part of what has made this expansion and particularly work towards equity to ultimately bring parity to historic preservation in Chicago is that we're working across government and commercial and nonprofit lines, and there's about a partnership, and systemic change takes a lot of time, but I'm super encouraged by the collaboration that everyone who's been involved in these projects shows in moving the needle and getting us closer to where we need to be in Chicago. So I'm proud to be a commissioner with all of you. I'm so privileged to have the opportunity to support the work in a very small way of the historic preservation staff. And I want to commend all of the developers, other commercial entities, and nonprofits who have come together to do this exciting work.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. If there are no further comments, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn this meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Burns.
Okay, and a second by Commissioner Hughes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? I don't think so. This meeting is adjourned, and Gabi, when's the permit review committee? moving?
The permit review committee will start at 2:00.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Have a great month, folks.
Thank you all.
Bye all.